My name is Carlos Rivera, and today I'll be reviewing The Married Life by Pandita Ramabai. This is based on the law of Manu, and the story actually provides in great detail the customs um, in the betrothal and arrangements of marriage in the Hindu culture in India. Uh, the main criteria being their caste in life and status. That's more important than even wealth within the clans, and the idea being, for example, someone with a lower caste, even if they have millions, would not be considered by someone with a higher caste. Um, there are points in which it's described the differences in Europe and America, where at one point in India, women would actually do the proposing to the men and would actually do the choosing of their husbands, versus in Europe and America, even though the woman chooses, they typically are not the ones to propose. So she's making a point there of how Hindu culture has changed. Ultimately, she describes the differences between different places in India, northern versus southern, and just what the differences are. But she kind of brings it back full circle and talks about things like how surprisingly young the marriages are arranged, and that children, ideal ages were a lot younger, so 8 to 12 years old, depending on the part of the region. Um, the big part of the reading is speaking about the double standard that exists and how different it is for women in that culture, and especially how little rights that they have. So how subservient they are once they are married. It also describes the different marriage ceremonies, and that there's actually two marriages. One is for kind of more ceremonial, and typically little girls aspire to that because they see it as one big party, not knowing what follows after that is basically their subservient role, how separate they are, and that essentially what they're doing is working for the mother-in-law, who kind of breaks them in. One of the more touching parts of the story is the account of her own mother as a young girl, while their parents were into pilgrimage. The father leaves and betroths the mother with this widower. Fortunately, he took good care of her, but kind of shows how callous that was, and what a lasting impression that had on Ramabai. Specifically, just seeing that they were able to do that like overnight, within a matter of hours, contractually, and then they left the girl there, and she was a little girl at the time. Um, Again, it describes a lot of how subservient women were, and how basically at one point she says that childhood is the heyday for a woman in that culture, because that's the only time that they have total freedom, and that they basically can come and go, and their life is their own without all the cares, versus a lifetime of learning, of learning to provide and to do things around the house, and just again having that role. Even when they're given for marriage, they live in a separate part of the house, and it's kind of the dark part of the house, and they're separate. So in conclusion, I think the point Ramabai was making was how miserable life is for women. So in her description of married life in that culture, she's basically given an account of, from beginning to end, what it's like to be in an arranged marriage situation, and how little rights women have in that culture. Thank you.